What's up, y'all? It's your boy Jay Holiday coming at you. Gift of Gab. We come with a more of a somber, serious type of topic tonight. See, I got the light dimmed a little bit. But what I want to talk about tonight is losing a lover, a spouse, wife, husband, something totally unexpected, you know what I'm saying, that somebody might go through, that type of thing. You know, I feel like I've seen death around the corner 100 times, put myself in positions like that, but I've never been on the other side of that. I've never been with someone when they were going through a near-death thing, especially that person being my wife. You know what I'm saying? Anything like that. I've never went through anything like that. So, like I said, what happened was, my wife at the time, she had been having problems, man, and she had to go for a hysterectomy. And, you know, it seemed like a simple surgery. You know what I mean? The doctor, I had went with her a couple times to the doctor's appointment before that, see what was going on. And it seemed like a simple surgery. They were doing that, and they were doing I believe a mesh procedure on her. And it seemed like a simple surgery, man. You know what I mean? That morning, we had to be at the hospital at like, her surgery was, I think it was the first one on the docket. So we had to be there like 5 in the morning. It was me, her, and her mother. And so, you know, we go in there, everything's going all right. She go in there and gets, you know, signed in and everything. And me and her mother waits in the waiting room. It's a lot of people in the waiting room, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's having surgeries. It was right before the holidays, so everybody's trying to get in and have a surgery. She ended up having the surgery, and the surgery was only supposed to take, I think, maybe 3.5 to 4 hours. You know, it was like I said, it was a hysterectomy. It wasn't like the old type of hysterectomy where they had to go in and, you know, cut you open, everything. Everything was microscopic. So her mother wanted to go home. It was the middle of the afternoon, maybe like 11, 12. I ended up taking her mama home, and I came back to the waiting room. So the waiting room is still packed, still people in there everywhere. And, you know, I'm just sitting there waiting. You know what I mean? I'm waiting. You know, it's noon. It's 1. It's still the afternoon, so I'm not thinking nothing else about it. It's a surgery. You know what I mean? So I think maybe around 3 o'clock, 3:30, I felt a certain type of way, and I asked the receptionist what was going on, and you know, they called back or whatever, and they said, you know, since she's still in surgery. And I'm like, okay, she's still in surgery and whatnot. So I'm sitting there waiting, and I'm sitting there waiting, and I'm watching the board, because they don't put the names on the board, they just put numbers, and you got a card with their number on it, so you know surgery's in progress. So I'm watching the board, you know, I'm still seeing surgery in progress. The board at the beginning of the day, the board was filled, every slot was taken. So the more I'm looking, the more I'm seeing numbers and numbers come off the board. So it gets to be about the people, they leave you know, the people at the desk, they leave about maybe 6. So it's going to be like 6 or 7. And I'm like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's going on? And every time they called back, it was just saying that she's still in surgery. And I'm just like, okay, maybe they just have a harder time than normal. So I stay there. By the time it's nighttime outside, when it was morning, daytime, when I got there, now I'm starting to feel a certain type of way. Now I'm feeling like I'm getting nervous a little bit. So I look up, man, and I'm the only one in the waiting room. I'm the only one in the waiting room. It's going on 11 p.m. Her surgery started about 6:30, 7. It's 11 p.m. I'm the only one in the waiting room. And I'm looking, and it still says in progress. And I'm thinking, clearly this is a mistake. Clearly somebody forgot to come out and tell me, you know, what the fuck's going on. And I'm sitting there for maybe like a half an hour or longer. And her doctor comes out. It's a lady doctor. You know, she came over to me, and I'm like, you know, what's going on? And the whole time I'm in there in the waiting room, I'm praying, you know what I mean? I'm praying, you know, praying she's all right, praying everything going all right. And the doctor comes over to me like, yeah, we had some complications. There was some bleeding. We had to give her like 4 pints of blood, 4 units of blood. She made it seem like it was just a bleeding issue. You know, I've worked in a surgery department before, so I know how shit go in there. When they in that surgery department, when they in that surgery room, if a mistake is made by anybody, whoever's in that room, it's a vow of silence. They not saying nothing. They not telling nothing. None of that. When I worked, I was a transporter in Springfield. I know a girl who worked in the surgery department. She was the one having the surgery. The doctors nicked her bowel and fucked her all the way up. Now, I know this because I heard the doctors talking, because I was back there in the surgery department. I heard them talking, but they never told her what happened. They just made it sound like it was just complications and whatnot, and I felt bad because I never told her. I never told her what I heard. You know what I'm saying? I never told her what I heard, but you know, that's what happened. So I know if mistakes are made back there, unless you got it on camera or recording, you're never going to know what's going on because they're not going to tell. So she just made it seem like it was blood loss and whatnot. And I'm like, okay. So what's going on now? Well, we just finishing up with her. She's okay. Just some blood loss. We gave her some blood, some units. There was some scar tissue. There was some things we had to, you know, deal with, but everything's going to be okay. Like, all right, thank you very much. And gave me the room number. You have to go up to this room number and wait. So I go up to the ICU. That should have been the first clue. I go up to the ICU. So now I'm waiting on her to come. They tell me what room she's coming to. I'm waiting in the room. By this time, her son comes to the hospital and he's waiting too. Now, meanwhile, this hospital that we at, I worked there. I had just stopped working there maybe like a month before all this happened. I had stopped working there. But I worked there, and I'm sitting there waiting another hour and a half, and I'm just like, you know, what the fuck's going on? So I'm in the hallway waiting. I'm asking the nurses, like, you know what I'm saying, is she coming up? What's going on? So when she finally comes up, I see people walking down the hallway before I see her. And it's a group of people. It's not one transporter pushing her up like I'm accustomed to seeing. You know what I mean? I'm accustomed to seeing it that way. There was a group of people surrounding this bed walking up. So now I'm seeing, okay, we got a doctor, we got nurses, we got respiratory therapy. Everybody is around this bed. So she pulls around the corner, coming into the room, and she's on a ventilator. And I'm like, fucking ventilator. Now I'm like, I'm bewildered. This is all hitting me like a ton of bricks. I'm fucking bewildered that she's on a ventilator now. And I'm thinking, okay, the doctor told me there was blood loss and there was some issues. The doctor never said anything about a fucking ventilator. The word ventilator never came out the doctor's mouth. So the first time I'm seeing this is when she's coming around this corner. So I'm trying to get some clarification. She's on this ventilator. When they take her in, we all had to come out the room, and they're working on her. And long story short, man, she ended up being on that ventilator for about a week. You know what I mean? She was on that ventilator. She wasn't strong enough to come off the ventilator. I'm still getting no kind of answers from anybody, honestly. So now I'm in there. Her son eventually goes home, and I'm in there with her while she's on this vent. And I just remember, I when you hear a ventilator, you never forget that sound. And it's like all night I didn't go to sleep. I'm just praying over her and her body, you know, while she's on this ventilator. And I'm talking to the Lord. I'm saying everything you can imagine. You know what I mean? I'll be a better husband. I ain't even gonna say making deals, because you can't make deals with God, but I'm saying everything I can imagine to the Lord to make sure that hopefully she don't die in this ICU. So they had her on propofol. That's what killed Michael Jackson. They had her on that. So after about a week, they said, okay, the plan is we're going to try to wean her off of this. So they would drop it down a little bit to see how she does. And eventually she got to the point to where she was able to come off the ventilator. Now, when she comes off the ventilator, she's out of her mind. I don't know, you know, what's this being under this sedation for all these hours has done to her mind, her brain. You know what I mean? And it was just a nightmare. Honestly, it was just a nightmare. And she finally was, I think she was in ICU for another 2 weeks or whatever. And she finally got to go upstairs to her room. So she came out, got to go to her room. She's up there for a while. So I finally tell her, I've been working on in the hospital, so I know what to do and what not to do. So I'm like, listen, you was laying down this whole time on your back. We got to try to make sure you don't get no blood clots and nothing like that. We got to try to get you up and walking, get you up and moving, get your blood circulating. So I try to walk her around the nurse's station, around the unit. And she doesn't make it to the nurse's station. She can't hardly breathe. She's wheezing. And I'm just like, something's wrong. Something's wrong with her. So come to find out, man, I complained so much to a point where they had to take her back down for a CT and a CAT scan, and they ended up finding blood clots in her lungs. Now this is after she's gotten back up on the floor. She's already left ICU. She's already went through all this. They find blood clots in her lungs. So now she's on crazy blood thinners, and what they eventually find is an aneurysm in her lungs. And the aneurysm was in a place to where surgery was too risky for them to do. Surgery was too risky. It was in her artery. It is still in her artery because she's still dealing with it. Surgery is too risky for her to do, or too risky for them to do. So she was on blood thinners for about a year. And she takes medication for her aneurysm that's in her artery, in her lung. Now, they said that's something she's going to have to live with. And she goes back to get scans to make sure the aneurysm hasn't moved. And honestly, man, that's the craziest shit I ever heard. I mean, I understand you can't do the surgery because of where the aneurysm is. Basically, what you're saying is, we just hoping that this medicine works and hope the aneurysm doesn't move and kill you. Basically, is what they're saying. So she ends up getting to be able to come home, and I'm self-employed at this point. So, you know, I had to juggle and act between trying to take care of her and deal with everything in the house and whatnot. And she eventually comes home, and I mean, by the time she comes home, she can't really do nothing for herself. She can't really get out the bed. I gotta help her. I had to put the bedside commode next to the bed. Bedpan, bedside commode, and I'm the only one in here doing this. And I'm, you know, basically a nurse's aide for her, dealing with incontinence, BM. You know, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm her husband, so I did what I had to do, and you know, took care of her like I was supposed to. Now, we went through that rehabilitation. She eventually got to the point to where she was able to do a little bit more. Well, she's able to walk. I helped her with the rehab and finally got her back on her feet and whatnot. And she eventually got past that, even though she's still dealing with the aneurysm. She did get past all that. No more blood thinners. But yeah, that story, man, was like, I've never been in a situation like that. I felt like my love for somebody was really tested at that point, because there was no time to think about nothing. You know what I'm saying? You had to just, it's your wife, you know what I'm saying? You would hope that she would do it for you. You know, y'all supposed to do it for each other, and I had to do whatever I had to do. You know what I'm saying? I've been with one other person where I was in that situation where I couldn't do for myself, and I was fucked up, and they held me down like that, you know. So I wish I could say that she survived, and that's wonderful. I'm glad about that. But I wish I could say that there was a happy ending to that story, because it really wasn't. It really wasn't. Even after all that, I'm not gonna get into it, but after all that, there wasn't really a happy ending to that story between me and her, my relationship with her. But I did what I had to do. I stood up. I stood up to the plate and handled my business, and I don't have anything to feel ashamed or anything about. I held her down. But anyway, it's your boy Jay Holiday, Gift to Gab. Just wanted to share that little story with you, man. Something I went through one time back in the day. So I'll be getting with y'all in a minute.